He died from the blow to the head. A grand jury was convened, and on January 22nd, 1948, the Shealy County Grand Jury went with the belief that Stratford died inside the county, and it indicted Rosa, Wallace, Charles, and Sammy Lee for taking Stratford's life. Rosa, Wallace, and Sammy Lee were tried together first. Charles was tried separately. The trial started on Monday, January 26, 1948. It lasted 1 day and was a complete sham. After hearing all the evidence, the all-white male jury found Rosa, Sammy, and Wallace guilty of intentionally taking Stratford's life. The jury did not recommend mercy. Judge Harper sentenced Rosa and 14-year-old Sammy and 16-year-old Wallace to death. Sammy and Wallace's age did not matter when it came to their death sentence, and that's because the justice system, especially in the Jim Crow South, had no problem sentencing black children to death. I don't want to get too deep into this topic, but the U.S. allowed the death penalty to be used on juveniles until the year 2005. 80% of all juveniles that were executed were children of color, and as you can imagine, these executions mostly occurred in former slaveholding states in the South. So Sammy and Wallace were two in the long list of black children that were sentenced to die in the American Southern courts. The Ingram's case was not well known until the Atlanta Daily World, a black newspaper, began covering it. Once people found out how this family had been sentenced to death for defending themselves, it sent shockwaves throughout the black community. Rosa's mother, Mrs. Amy Hunt, along with other family members, began to reach out to black churches and organizations for help and financial support to continue the fight to free this family. In 1948, the NAACP National Office was able to secure the Ingrams permission to represent them in their legal case. This is the letter signed by the Ingrams allowing the NAACP to enter the fight on their behalf. It also put out a call in its monthly magazine, The Crisis, for support for the Ingrams. The NAACP also brought in prominent Atlanta attorney A.T. Walden to represent them. Attorneys Walden and Dykes filed a motion for new trial, and on March 25, 1948, Judge Harper held a hearing on that motion. Black people showed up in large numbers to support the Ingrams, but this was 1948 and the courtroom was segregated, so they had to sit in the balcony. Only about 30 white people showed up, and they were allowed to sit in comfort on the main level of the courtroom. Attorney Dykes put forth several arguments for why the judge should grant them a new trial. Prosecutor Elijah Forrester said that the Ingrams had not been forced or coerced into making a statement, and that the evidence at trial proved that there were two fights, with the second one being the one that resulted in Stratford's death. 1 week later, Judge Harper issued his ruling. He commuted the Ingram sentence to life in prison, but he denied the motion for a new trial. This was a small victory, but Jim Crow still won.